So my name is Pavel Bochian.
My name is Eugen Tomuța.
I was born in Romania.
And I escaped communism.
Then one day I say, I want to run because the communists, they are still, involved with everything.
No free speech at all. I mean, like I said, if you would have any courage to say something against the government, well, you would not be found anymore.
The Communist Party came to power in Romania through a combination of Soviet backing and political manipulation. The Romanian government at the time had put a lot of pressure on King Carol II to join the war, except they wanted him to join on Hitler's side. Eventually they switched, but by that point it was already too late. The Russians had snuck their way into Romania and infiltrated the government.
At that time, the Russians were in north of Moldova, in Bukovina, and the Russians already started to conquer part of Romania.
After the World War II, the Russians came in and kind of took over. But I think Romania was kind of not all the way, but working on the, becoming the part of the Communist Party.
After the war ended, the Soviets began to implement themselves into every part of the Romanian political system. The idea of socialism allowed the Romanian government to make communist decisions and disguise them in such a way that no one would be the wiser. And through a rigged election, the Romanian Communist Party was voted in, and by 1948, they had full control. The communists forced King Michael out and changed Romania to a communist republic.
With the troops of Russians being in Bucharest, the Romanian, under the pressure of the Russians, they established the first so-called democratic government. They had lists of the people from the factory, and they told them, if you don't go in the street to demonstrate for us, we will damage your dossier, we will eliminate you from job, you will lose your job. So they put pressure on people to go on the street.
But this story takes place almost 20 years later with this man, Nicolae Ceausescu. In 1965, Ceausescu became the most powerful man in all of Romania. He was handed the presidency after his predecessor died and had a lot of popularity because he wanted Romania to be free from the USSR.
He did try to get the Russians out of Romania because after the war they were, when they came in, they did a lot of devastation, they hurt the people. So they, Ceausescu did work, and as far as I know, he did went to the Russians to say, hey, if you let the people be treated by the Romanians, maybe they'll have a little bit of a better time. So I think that's where he kind of slowly pushed the Russians out.
Although Ceausescu had gained some popularity, this didn't stop him from becoming the most cruel dictator Eastern Europe had yet seen.
The people knew who he was, and the people suffered a lot. The difference was that the people were afraid. So even if you knew the kind of, president and the dictator that he was, you would not have the, courage to stand out or to say something against him.
Ceausescu's face was literally everywhere. He forced the people to view him and his wife as celebrities, including giving his wife all sort of degrees and accolades for things she never did. She was praised in the media, and he was made to look like a god.
For example, we only had 2 hours of TV. It was like 2 hours a night from 8 to 10. And everything, what they show was pretty much political, like where is the president been, how he went to certain factory.
All you saw on TV was just them. They were, constantly going places, and they were constantly filmed, and
it was pretty much saying how things was running in Romania, and everybody had everything they need, and trying to show us that this is a good life that happened in Romania.
The Securitate, or the secret police, was a special faction of the police force created for maintaining communist control. They would capture and imprison anyone who was talking badly about the government or Ceausescu. Free speech was not an option. On top of this, the media and all television networks were controlled by the Romanian government, making it impossible to differentiate real life from propaganda.
So in Romania were a lot of people who collaborate. So you have to be very careful what you speak and in what environment you speak, because people were asked about other people. So everybody spied everybody.
Again, I was very young, but I could see, and anywhere I work or in school, you could not say really what you had in your mind about the government. You know there would be a problem.
If you were smart, you didn't try to fight alone the government.
Ceausescu's nefarious regime didn't just stop at hurting people, but elevating himself. While his people were starving due to his economic failures, he focused all remaining money on making his life the most lavish it could possibly be.
But you know, this was a big problem with the food. Well, I remember when I go to buy the bread, sometimes they give it to two loaf for a family. But for us, because we was 10 people at home, was nothing,
Which we knew that the stores, the way they were set up, there was not much. We had a rational for a while. We had like a card, I remember, with my family per person. Like you could buy sugar, oil, bread.
How they do this stuff with us, to show us they have everything.
Sometimes you have to wait for 2 to 3 hours for maybe some chicken and some meat, if I want to call it. Sometimes even for bread, milk. Yeah, many times.
So in the winter was known that the heat would come out either like 2 to 3 hours at night, and that was usually in the middle of the night. Hot water was like a luxury. I remember my mom used to wake us up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get showers because it was the only time we would have hot water. And then, lights, it was interesting. You never knew when they come on, you knew when they're on, but you didn't know when they're off.
The Palace of Parliament was Ceausescu's way of living the life he always wanted. It stands at almost 4 million square feet, has over 1,100 rooms, and costed the equivalent of $5 billion, making it one of the most expensive buildings in the world. It was made up of 1 million cubic meters of marble and used more than 3,500 tons of crystal. More than 3,000 people died during the construction due to insane deadlines and terrible working conditions.
So the Palace of Parliament was made in the last part of Ceausescu's life. It's a beautiful building that's only 10% used of right now because it was never finished. So the Palace of Parliament was made with 100% Romanian money. So everything that it's also put in the palace, it's Romanian made. So the problem that it was, and there is today, is that they invested so much money into an amazing building that's like the second one in the world, while the people of the country suffered, had no money or food.
The religious persecution brought on by the Romanian government and Ceausescu was devastating. Thousands of places of worship were destroyed, and the underground Christian church became the largest movement in Romanian history. This is why Romania needed to be escaped.
When I was in my first year in university, one of my fellow students, he asked the philosophy professors. He said, I know that the Christians, they are good people, they are good citizens, and why we are not allow them to be free in Romania? And the answer was this. The Communist Party doesn't want the people to have another authority about them above the Communist Party. For them, the Communist Party is the higher authority.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I can't even remember all the stories. But I remember that we had friends that their parents couldn't get jobs because they were known as being Christians. I know that after they finished college, a lot of people, if they were known for being Christians, they were sent to like in the ugliest parts of the country to work. So there was a lot of persecution. In school, I mean, my math teacher, beat me up because I was a, Christian and she was a devout, communist.
And when I started to go to church and I found Jesus Christ, and I decided in that time, to in one day to run. And I take a decision, when I run, and I go to Paris and French, and after I go to Spain, and from there I jump on the ship, to come to Canada. And it was happened because the people, they came to, cross the board in Canada. The company who owned the ship, they asked the captain, they say, what happened? Why you man not pay attention? The people when they come on the board, and after the captain, he decided to throw in the water, the people. And after like 2 months, I was with my friend in the board, and they threw over the board my friend, and it was like 2-3 days, because after 3 days in the evening, I come out from there, and the guy who found me, he was a Christian, and he told me after I came to Canada, because I don't understand English, and he told me with a translator, and he said, Nick, before I meet you and I pray with you, 5 minutes ago I pray, I said, Lord, if it's one more guy here on the board and on the ship, please let me find him, because I want to save his life.
In 1987, October, me and 2 out of my buddies, we decided to leave Romania. We took a train from our town, it's called Arad. It took us 3 days and 4 nights to finally reach the Danube River. One of our other buddy, he wasn't very confident in swimming, so got a little bit scared, but finally we talked him into it. So we were asking God's help in the middle of the water, the Danube River. We're like, God, you need to help us. We're very tired. We need your help in this moment more than ever. So from there on, we don't remember anything that happened. We just I remember waking up next to the Danube River. We knew we crossed. We were on the other side. We want to go up on the road and maybe pick up somebody to pick us up with the car or anybody that was passing by. Our idea was to end up going to Austria. And so we walked down the road. We want to go to the next village, and maybe we can hop on a bus or find a way to start going towards the Austrian border. Got a gentleman there asked us how was the water. He knew that we crossed, and tell him, hey, it was pretty rough. But we made it. We're happy that we made it, and we want to continue going. So this person says, okay, well, I'll help you. Why don't you guys come with me? So we got with him, we got on a bus, and it took us probably, I would say, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, if I remember correctly. And then he says, well, get off here and go to that building. And we got off that bus, we entered that building, and that was where the police was. They arrested us, interviews us for a couple of hours, asked us, what we want to do. We're a refugee now, and we end up going to their prison. They sent us to 21 days in prison for illegally crossing their border. Probably in Romania, I would get years, or who knows what else could have happened. So we stayed there for 21 days. After 21 days, we end up going to a refugee camp where we got the United Nations, took us under their wings, if I call it that way, and then made us like a blue card that we were able to go in the refugee camp. We stayed in a refugee camp for 7 months. Actually 6 months. 1 month was for me until I got to the prison, with the prison. And then 6 months after that, I got picked up by American Embassy. About 3 to 4 months when I was in Yugoslavia, in a refugee camp. And they gave me a visa and a status as a refugee to come here in Chicago.